Hey, what's up guys? My name's Chris Winter and today I'm going to do an in-depth review in comparison between the Canon 50mm f1.4 and the brand new Canon 50mm f1.8 STM lens. Now, ever since I reviewed the new STM lens from Canon, I've been inundated with requests to pair it up against its older, more expensive brother, the 1.4. And I'd just like to say a big thanks to Brisbane Camera Hire for letting me rent out the 50-1.4 for this test. And guys, if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check out my top 5 list of the best prime lenses for under $150. I go into a lot of detail explaining which ones would be good for you and why. So go check it out. I'll put a link in the description box below and see what comes out on top. So let's first take a look at the build quality of these two 50mm lenses. Now the 50-1.4 has always been known as a big step up in build quality from the old nifty 50. It's heavier, it has a better focus ring, and it also had a metallic mount. But you know what? The gap has been greatly reduced with this new 50 STM. Now, although the 50 STM is still lighter, coming in at 162 grams compared to the 50-1.4's 290 grams, both of these lenses do still feel very solid. And like I said before, both of these lenses do have a very nice metallic mount, and they've also got really nice focus rings. The old nifty 50 had a dreadful focus ring, and it was really something that held back a lot of people from using it. But on the new 50 STM, it's much improved. You know, if I'd had to say which one was better, I'd say that the 50-1.4 has a larger focus ring and it's probably a little bit easier to turn, but the 50-1.8 STM, it's a smoother focus ring. Now, one feature that I really do like on the 50mm f1.4 that's not on the 50-1.8 is its focus distance window. This is something that we'd normally see in higher priced lenses, and you know what? It's nice to see. It really helps, especially if you're going to be manually pulling focus, and it's definitely a bonus on the 50-1.4. So if you are going to be doing a lot of video work and you're going to be doing a lot of manual focus pulling, it's definitely something to consider. Hey guys, if you want to see some sample images of these lenses head to head, I'll put a link in the description box below so you can check it out and take a look for yourself. Now quickly I want to talk about the noise of these two lenses. So I did a full video comparing the two lenses' noise a few days ago, and my test results were pretty conclusive. The 50mm f1.4, even with its tried and tested ultrasonic motor, is still noisier than the new 50mm f1.8 with its new STM motor. And you know, it's not a massive deal when it comes to stills photography, but if you do any video work, the STM is definitely much quieter. Now if you want to see that full video, I'll put a link right here so you can click on that and check out the full results. Now, over the last few weeks of testing this 50mm STM, I've actually really enjoyed getting close to my subjects and taking some shots that you could almost call macro. Now, it's still not a macro lens, but with that new minimum focus distance of 35 centimeters, paired up with a crop-sensitive body like the Canon 70D, you can get some really nice close-up shots. And because it's such a sharp lens, I've been really impressed with the results. Now, on the other hand, we do have the 50-1.4, which still has that fairly long 45 centimeter minimum focus distance, which just isn't that close. And sure, once you crop it in, you can still get some nice shots with the 50-1.4, but in terms of getting close up to your subject, the 50-1.8 STM wins. Let's quickly talk about the bokeh, or out of focus area, of these two lenses. The 50-1.4 does have an extra aperture blade coming in at 8, which results in slightly rounder bokeh, but I've actually been really impressed with the STM's new bokeh, especially compared to the old nifty 50. Of course, one area where the 50-1.4 does win is depth of field. Going from f1.8 to f1.4, you can get an even shallower depth of field, which is always nice to have in your arsenal. Unfortunately though, the images are a little bit soft at f1.4 with this lens, but we'll talk a bit more about that later on. So let's now test out these lenses in stills autofocus mode. I've got a couple of vintage cameras right here. I'm going to focus on them. We'll listen out for that confirmation beep and hear just how quick it is. Starting off with the 50-1.4. It's definitely a quick autofocusing lens in stills mode. Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with that. It has got a very short focus throw, so you can definitely tell that this is designed for stills photography mode. It's not a bad performer. Okay, so let's now test out the 50-1.8 STM lens. This one's very, very quick. It's much quieter too. That's quite interesting. The 51.8 is actually faster, I'd say. The 51.4 is definitely not a slow lens for autofocus in stills, but yeah, I think I prefer the 51.8 in terms of autofocus speed in stills mode. Now, the autofocus results were pretty even on the stills side, but I can't say the same about the video side. The new STM motor on the 51.8 STM easily beats out the ultrasonic motor in the old 1.4 lens. It's smoother, it's quieter, and it doesn't hunt anywhere near as much. And sure, a lot of people who use this lens for video will be using it in manual focus, but it's still nice to test it out. So enough talking about it, let's now take a look at a few sample images of these two lenses, and this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. Both of these lenses produce some stunning images, with the 50 1.4 being a fan favourite for many years with that very shallow depth of field. They both reproduce colour very well, and for the price, are pretty sharp lenses. That is until you get to the wide apertures on the 1.4. Wide open at 50 1.4, it really does suffer. It's nowhere near as sharp as its newer, cheaper brother. Even when stopped down to a comparable 1.8, the new STM lens still produces sharper images. Now when we hit f2.8 and onwards, the results do start to become much better. So overall, I think they both produce fantastic images, but both have their pros and cons. Okay, so let's now talk about value for money, and this is where the 50mm f1.8 flies by its older brother. Coming in at just $125, the new STM lens has kept the same price as the old nifty 50, even though it's got a huge upgrade in build quality and autofocus performance. On the other hand, the 1.4 is coming in at well over double that price at around $330. Sure, it's a heavier lens that lets in more light, but you've got to ask yourself, is it worth it? And you know what? I can't speak for you, but for me it's not. The 50 1.8 has better autofocus in stills and video mode, sharper images wide open, and is light enough for me to carry around all day. Now, if you already own the 50mm f1.4, it's a fantastic lens, and I still think you should probably keep it. It's still going to hold its value very well, and it's still going to produce those fantastic images that you've always taken with it. And remember guys, in the end, they're just lenses, and they're very nice lenses, and they'll always produce really nice images. So there you go guys, that was my review of these two lenses. If you did like this video, I'd love it if you leave a thumbs up, because that's always appreciated. I'd also like to say a big thanks to Brisbane Camera Hire for letting me rent out the 50 1.4 for this test. I'm going to go make myself a coffee. You guys should do it too, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.